Yes, she flies now. Hello Geeks and Ghouls, I watched Wonder Woman 1984 and I really liked this movie a lot. I'd say that it's the best DCEU movie to date, which, to be honest, is not too high of an acclaim because most of the DCEU movies have not been the best comic book movies of all time, but I think that it did a lot of things that the first Wonder Woman did quite well. He also did some things wrong, but whatever. So what's the story? The movie starts with the little Diana Prince participating in some sort of an Amazon American Gladiators. At this point I saw that the movie is 2.5 hours long and I was like, oh god, no, why am I watching this? Why is this padding? When it's over and little Diana listens to a pep talk about the importance of blah blah blah, I was like, oh yes, that's the theme of the movie. And what I really liked about this movie is how traditional it felt. It felt like an 80s blockbuster movie. There was a lot of simple action, very few effect-ridden set pieces, which was great. The cinematography was very 80s, the colors were saturated, it felt very, very old-school Hollywood, and I really enjoy that. And I think that when DCEU decides to go that route and try to emulate older movies, having their iconic characters in there, it works. I mean, Aquaman did that, and the first Wonder Woman did that, and Shazam did that, and the Joker did that, and they all worked. So why not here? It's also working here. I think that this movie really captures the emotional core of the story. If you go there expecting a bit dumb set piece full of action sequences and this kind of stuff, it's not the kind of movie. The action was a bit underwhelming, to be honest. I mean, yes, I know we all went to see this movie because we want to see Diana lash of thunder, and the way it's done is very disappointing, but there are some good set pieces here and there. The action is not that great, but again, the action was not that great in the first Wonder Woman except for the one scene, you know what I'm talking about. Here there is the car chase in Egypt with the trucks, which was great, and yeah, that was it. Really, that was the good set piece. I kind of not like the moveset they have chosen for Wonder Woman in all the movies, in Wonder Woman, in Justice League, and here. I don't like how she lassos like she's Spider-Man or something, and how she jumps around. And here combat moves are not that great too. The sliding tackles and all that. I mean, we've seen that. It's not amazing. That's my pet peeve with how Wonder Woman is portrayed. But I think that the gist of the story, the gist of the movie is not about the fight scenes. They are there because it's a superhero movie and Diana is a warrior. It's about the emotions and the characters here, because in this movie we have Diana, who is in 1984 and serially misses Steve Trevor. You remember Steve from the first movie, right? And she comes into contact with an artifact that is making wishes come true. So she wishes for Steve to return, and he returns. And also we have two more characters. We have Christen Wigg playing Barbara Minerva, yes, Cheetah, and Pedro Pascal, aka the Mandalorian, as Maxwell Lord, who is quite a lot like Donald Trump. I know that some people complain about that, but whatever. I think that Maxwell Lord and Donald Trump fit the same archetype, and I think that him being here fits the 80s a lot because he's the Snake Oilsman, the TV personality, and I can see that kind of character working in the 80s. A lot. Actually, yes, I think that the 80s were very underused in this movie. There are some 80s details, and I liked how the cinematography reminded me of the 80s with the saturated colors and all that, but it was just a window dressing. There were some people dressed like in the 80s, there was a fun montage with Steve Trevor wearing 80s clothes, and it was hilarious, and there was some mall and this kind of stuff, but overall I felt that the 80s were underused. The music score especially could have used a lot of more synths and cowbells instead of a very generic superhero score by Hans Zimmer. I think that the soundtrack was the weakest part of the movie. I'd love to hear this very dope version of Blue Monday they did for the trailer in the movie. It would have been great, but no, it was not. I'd rather have a soundtrack more like Aquaman, which was more synthy and more tech. It felt much more interesting than the very generic superhero score we have here. But what can I say? That's my biggest hurdles. The action that was not that great, and the action was not much great in the first Wonder Woman 2, and the soundtrack. But I think that what I really liked was the emotional struggles of the characters, how they work together, the interactions. I really love how Diana and Steve work together as a team. They complement each other, and it's something I love to see more in modern movies. The hero and the love interest working together and helping each other despite having different strengths, different weaknesses, different power gaps. I just loved how Steve was treated in this movie. Again, he was in a way equal to Diana, because the theme of the movie, wishing for things and not want to pay the consequences, it was really human. It's something that you can appreciate if you watch it, and I think that Patty Jenkins did an amazing job with her cinematography, how she uses very simple scenes to convey complex emotions. The casting helps a lot. Gal Gadot is amazing as Diana. I can really picture her as an ancient Greek goddess because of how expressive she is. She smiles and the scene brightens like that, or she cries and the world gets gloomier, and she brings a lot of humanity to the role. And I think that's interesting that out of all the Justice League characters, the demigoddess is the most human of all. That's a great win. That's something that makes this Wonder Woman so popular. And I think that both Christen Wigg as this very Selina Kyle-esque character, actually, she reminded me a lot of Selina Kyle from Batman Returns, how she is the wallflower that, not the wallflower, the overlooked girl, the unpopular girl, getting superpowers and getting corrupted by them. And Pedro Pascal as the sleazy businessman. They really sell their roles, and they have their own challenges, their own humanity, their own small moments. I think this movie was very emotional. I mean, when we get to the emotional climax, again, I won't spoil, it just works. It just works because of that, because of the strong performances and the great cinematography, how emotions are conveyed on the picture. The climax and the stakes are not your average beam to the sky we've seen in countless superhero movies for the past 10 years. No, it feels much more real, and at the same time it feels very goofy the way it's done. It feels very comic booky. And that's something that I like about the more recent DC movies, like Shazam or Aquaman. They feel comic-y. They're in a way reconstructing instead of deconstructing comic books. I mean, Snyder movies were a lot about the construction of the comic book genre and about showing a dark, grim world. And here we have fun. We have good old-time fun that, yes, it's goofy, but you know what? It's about basically genies. It's about genie granting wishes to people. So yes, it's supposed to be a bit ridiculous, and the movie takes this ridiculousness with a smiling face, say, oh yes, I like it, and I'd like to have more of it. And it feels very 80s at its core, this way it's treated, this goofiness of it, and at the same time it feels very fun. I mean, you have to set a critical mind, it doesn't make sense, just enjoy it as a comic book movie, because it is a comic movie to its core. That's the beauty of comics, these crazy situations, and the stakes actually get very real. Yes, the ending is kind of corny, but it's this kind of movie. It's a movie about wishes and their powers. And in a way it feels very Christmassy, because one of the themes is wishing, and we wish things for Christmas, or we wish things for the new year, and sometimes we don't quite appreciate what we already have, or we don't want to sacrifice things to make our wishes reality. We won't take easy paths. That's why so many New Year's resolutions are being forgotten or never realized, because we don't want to pay the price. But overall, I think it was a very good movie, and I know there's some very mixed reviews out there, which is a shame, because I like this movie, but you know what? I don't think that everybody will love this movie. I personally love it for all the reasons I said about how good of a movie it was. It was not a great superhero movie, but it was a great movie, in my opinion. And if you watch this movie, I'd love to hear your opinions about it, and you can leave a comment about it below. If you have a review already, I'll leave a link, I'll try to give it a watch, and I'll see you soon. Thank you for watching.